Every night, you make the same promise. Tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow, you will wake up earlier. Tomorrow, you will stop wasting time. Tomorrow, you will finally start the thing you keep avoiding. But then tomorrow arrives. Your alarm rings. Your hand reaches for your phone before you're even fully awake. One video becomes 10. 10 minutes becomes an hour. And somehow, the habit you promised to escape yesterday feels impossible to resist today. But the reason this happens is not because your brain is weak. It is not because you lack discipline. The real reason is much stranger. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is trying to save energy. For thousands of years, the human brain evolved to find the easiest path, the safest path, the path that required the least effort, because for our ancestors, saving energy was not laziness, it was survival. Finding food required effort, avoiding danger required attention. Every unnecessary action could waste valuable energy. So the brain developed a powerful ability. It turned repeated actions into automatic routines. This ability helped humans survive, but in the modern world, the same system can work against you. Your brain does not ask, will this help my future? It asks, have I done this before? Did it give me a reward? Can I do it with less effort? That is why your brain can make you repeat things you know are harmful. Staying up late will make tomorrow harder. Endless scrolling steals your time. Avoiding difficult tasks creates more stress later. Yet the habit continues. Why? Because your brain is not designed to chase the best choice. It is designed to repeat successful patterns. And a successful pattern, from your brain's perspective, simply means something happened. You felt something. Your brain remembered. A habit was born. Think about the first time you learned to ride a bicycle. At the beginning, every movement required attention. Your hands controlled the handle. Your feet controlled the pedals. Your brain was working hard. But after repeating it many times, something changed. You stopped thinking about every movement. The action became automatic. This is the power of habits. They reduce the amount of mental energy required to perform repeated behaviors. Without habits, daily life would be exhausting. Imagine having to consciously think about every step of brushing your teeth, walking, or making your morning coffee. Your brain would be overwhelmed. Habits are your brain's shortcut system, but shortcuts have a weakness. Your brain does not care whether the shortcut leads somewhere good or somewhere harmful. It only cares that the shortcut works. This is why bad habits can become so powerful. A healthy habit may have a reward that arrives later. Exercise gives you benefits after weeks or months. Studying creates opportunities in the future. Saving money protects you years from now. But many bad habits offer something immediate. A sweet snack gives pleasure instantly. A notification gives excitement instantly. A video gives entertainment instantly. Your brain naturally pays more attention to rewards that are close. Psychologists call this present bias. It means your brain often values something happening right now more than something that might happen later. The future version of you understands the importance of discipline, but the current version of you feels the immediate temptation. And when those two versions disagree, the present usually feels stronger. A 5-minute pleasure feels real. A future benefit feels distant. This is why people can understand exactly what they should do and still struggle to do it. Knowledge is not always the problem. The problem is the way the brain evaluates rewards. Deep inside your brain is a system that constantly asks, was this experience important? Should I remember this? Should I repeat this? One of the major chemicals involved in this process is dopamine. Many people call dopamine the pleasure chemical, but that explanation is incomplete. Dopamine is more like a learning and motivation signal. It helps your brain notice things that might be valuable. When something rewarding happens, dopamine helps your brain mark that experience. Your brain says, remember this. Pay attention. Maybe do this again. Imagine you check your phone and see an interesting message. Your brain receives a small reward. The next time your phone lights up, your brain already remembers. It expects something good might happen. The notification itself becomes powerful, not because the notification is enjoyable, because your brain has learned what might come after it. This is where habits begin to take control. The action is no longer only about the reward. It becomes about anticipation. Your brain starts chasing the possibility of something rewarding. And this is why you sometimes open an app without even realizing it. You were not making a careful decision. Your brain was following a familiar path, a path built through repetition. But how does a simple action become something that feels almost automatic? The answer is hidden inside the habit loop, a cycle that can quietly shape your everyday life, a trigger, a routine, a reward. And once you understand the cycle, you begin to understand why your brain keeps choosing the habits you want to escape. The habit loop explains why certain behaviors become difficult to control. It begins with a trigger. A trigger is something that tells your brain something is about to happen. It can be a place, a time, an emotion, a situation, even a simple thought. You sit on your bed after a long day. That position becomes a trigger. Your brain remembers, this is when I usually watch videos. You feel stressed before starting a difficult task. That feeling becomes a trigger. Your brain remembers, this is when I usually avoid the work. You feel bored for a few seconds. Your brain remembers, this is when I usually check my phone. The trigger creates an urge, then comes the routine. The routine is the behavior itself, opening the app, eating the snack, avoiding the task, staying awake late, repeating the same action. Finally comes the reward, the feeling your brain was searching for: entertainment, relief, comfort, connection. The reward tells your brain, remember this pattern. And every time the cycle repeats, the connection becomes stronger. This idea became widely known through researcher Charles Duhigg's explanation of the habit loop. The important discovery is that habits are not random, they are learned patterns. Your brain is constantly connecting situations with behaviors. Over time, the trigger can become enough to create the urge. You may not even consciously want the behavior. The environment starts making the decision for you. A smell can make you hungry. A song can bring back a memory. A notification sound can make you reach for your phone. The trigger is powerful because your brain has linked it with a previous reward. But why do some habits become stronger than others? Because not all rewards affect your brain equally. A reward that is immediate, easy, and predictable creates a strong learning signal. This is why scrolling can be so difficult to stop. Every swipe contains a possibility. Maybe the next video will be funny. Maybe the next post will be interesting. Maybe the next message will be important. Your brain does not know exactly what will appear, and that uncertainty keeps it searching. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz studied dopamine activity and discovered something fascinating. Dopamine neurons respond not only when a reward appears, but also when the brain predicts a reward. The expectation itself becomes powerful. Your brain begins reacting before the reward arrives. That is why the sound of a notification can create excitement before you even know who sent it. The brain is preparing for a possible reward. This is one reason modern technology is so effective at capturing attention. Many digital platforms are built around unpredictable rewards. The next video, the next update, the next recommendation. The brain keeps searching because it believes something valuable might appear. It is not searching because every moment is enjoyable. It is searching because the next moment could be. This same principle has been studied in behavioral psychology for decades. B.F. Skinner's experiments with reinforcement showed that behaviors followed by rewards become more likely to happen again. The brain learns from consequences. If an action reduces discomfort or creates pleasure, the brain remembers. But there is something important to understand. Your brain is not trying to ruin your life, it is trying to protect you. Avoiding difficult work can temporarily reduce stress. Eating comfort food can temporarily improve mood. Watching videos can temporarily remove boredom. From your brain's perspective, the habit solved a problem. The problem is that your brain often focuses on the immediate result, not the long-term cost. The relief you feel now may create a bigger problem later. The comfort you get today may create frustration tomorrow. This creates a conflict between two systems inside your mind. One system wants immediate safety and comfort. The other system wants long-term growth. The first system is ancient. It helped humans survive. The second system requires planning, patience, and self-control. And these two systems are constantly negotiating. When you're tired, stressed, or emotionally overwhelmed, the immediate reward system usually becomes stronger. This is why bad habits often appear when life becomes difficult. You may notice that you do not always crave distractions when you are calm and focused. The urge becomes stronger when you are exhausted, when you feel pressure, when you feel uncertain. The habit is often not the real problem. The emotion behind the habit is. This is why simply removing the behavior does not always work. If you only say, I will stop checking my phone, your brain still asks, what will replace the comfort? What will replace the escape? What will replace the reward? A habit is rarely just an action, it is a solution your brain created. The solution may be unhealthy, but the need behind it is real. And understanding that changes the way you approach habits. Instead of fighting your brain, you start studying it. You start asking, what feeling appears before this habit? What reward am I actually searching for? What pattern is my brain repeating? Because once you can see the pattern, you can begin changing it. And that is where real control begins. Part 3 of 4. Now comes the question that changes everything. If your brain learned bad habits, can it learn better ones? Yes, in fact, your brain is designed to learn. It never stops adapting. This ability is called neuroplasticity. It simply means your brain changes itself based on what you repeatedly do. Think of a path through a forest. The first time you walk through it, there's no trail. The ground is uneven, branches get in your way. You have to think about every step. Walk the same path again tomorrow, then the next day, then for a month. Eventually, the grass disappears, the dirt becomes visible, the trail becomes easier to follow. Your brain works in much the same way. Every repeated behavior strengthens a neural pathway. The more often you repeat something, the less effort your brain needs to perform it. That is why driving a car becomes automatic. Reading becomes faster. Typing becomes effortless. Unfortunately, the same process applies to unhealthy behaviors. Every unnecessary scroll, every skipped workout, every delayed task, every late night binge, each repetition quietly strengthens the pathway. The habit becomes less of a choice and more of a default. This is why relying on willpower alone usually fails. Willpower is like using a flashlight. It helps for a while, but eventually the battery runs low. Habits are different. They're like turning on the lights in the entire room. Once the system changes, you no longer need to fight every decision. Most people try to break habits by using more motivation. They wait until they feel ready. But motivation is unpredictable. Some mornings you have plenty of it, other mornings it disappears completely. Your brain does not build habits from motivation, it builds habits from repetition. That is why successful change usually starts much smaller than people expect. Reading one page, doing 5 push ups, walking for 10 minutes, writing one paragraph. These actions seem almost too small to matter, but your brain is not measuring how impressive the action is. It is measuring whether the action happens again tomorrow. Small actions repeated consistently become automatic. Large actions repeated once become memories. This idea appears throughout modern behavioral psychology. Consistency changes the brain more reliably than intensity. Many people fail because they try to change their entire life in one day. Your brain sees that as a threat. A sudden dramatic change requires enormous mental effort, and your brain naturally resists anything that demands too much energy. Instead, make the desired behavior easier. If you want to read more, place the book where you normally leave your phone. If you want to exercise, prepare your clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from easy reach. These changes may seem simple, but they change the environment that shapes your choices. Your environment quietly influences your brain every day. If cookies sit on the kitchen counter, your brain notices them. If your phone is beside your pillow, your brain notices it. If distractions are always visible, they become easier to repeat. Your surroundings are constantly creating triggers. Instead of asking, how can I become more disciplined? Try asking, how can I make the good habit easier and the bad habit harder? That single question shifts the battle away from willpower and toward design. Researcher Judson Brewer found something else that makes change easier: awareness. When people become curious about their habits instead of judging themselves, something remarkable happens. The automatic cycle begins to weaken. Imagine reaching for your phone. This time, instead of opening it immediately, you pause. You simply notice the urge. You ask yourself, what am I actually looking for right now? Entertainment, relief, connection, or am I simply uncomfortable with a moment of silence? That pause is powerful. It creates space between the trigger and the routine. And inside that space is where choice begins. Most habits operate because they are invisible. The moment you become aware of them, they lose part of their power. You stop acting on autopilot. You begin acting with intention. That doesn't mean you will never slip again. You will. Everyone does. Your brain is a learning machine, not a perfect machine. Progress is not about never repeating a bad habit. It is about repeating the better habit more often than the old one, because every repetition is teaching your brain what to do next. And slowly, almost without noticing, the path begins to change. Part 4 of 4. There's one final piece that most people never realize. Your habits don't just shape your actions, they shape your identity. Every time you repeat a behavior, your brain quietly collects evidence about who you are. Skip a workout once, and it means very little. Skip it every week, and your brain begins building a story. I'm someone who doesn't exercise. Read a few pages every night, and eventually the story changes. I'm someone who learns. Notice the difference. The behavior came first, the identity followed. Most people try to change this in reverse. They wait until they feel motivated, they wait until they believe they are disciplined. Then, they expect their habits to change. But your brain doesn't work that way. It trusts evidence more than promises. Every small action is a vote for the person you are becoming. That is why lasting change rarely begins with giant transformations. It begins with tiny actions repeated long enough for your brain to believe, this is who I am now. Over time, those small actions stop feeling forced, they become familiar, and familiar behaviors require less effort. Think about someone who brushes their teeth every morning. They don't negotiate with themselves, they don't wait for motivation, they simply do it. The habit has become part of their identity. That is exactly how every strong habit is built. Not through massive effort, through consistent repetition. This is also why perfection is such a dangerous goal. Miss one day, and many people believe they have failed, so they quit completely. But your brain doesn't learn from one mistake, it learns from repeated patterns. One unhealthy meal won't ruin your health. One missed workout won't erase your progress. One distracted afternoon won't define your future. What matters is the direction your habits point over time. Imagine a plane flying across the ocean. If the pilot changes the direction by only a few degrees, nothing seems different at first. But hundreds of miles later, the plane reaches an entirely different destination. Your habits work the same way. Small daily choices seem insignificant in the moment. Months later, they become your lifestyle. Years later, they become your identity. This is why your future isn't created by the decisions you make once. It's created by the decisions you stop thinking about, the automatic ones, the habits. So if your brain loves bad habits, don't hate your brain for it. Understand it. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to make life easier using the information you've repeatedly given it. Every scroll, every excuse, every late night, every healthy meal, every difficult conversation, every focused hour, your brain records them all. Then it asks one simple question: should I make this easier next time? That question is shaping your future every single day. The incredible part is that you get to answer it, not with your intentions, not with your goals, but with your actions. Because every action teaches your brain what deserves to become automatic. If you begin repeating better choices today, even very small ones, your brain will eventually stop resisting them. One day, the habits that feel impossible now can become as natural as tying your shoes, not because your brain changed overnight, but because you patiently taught it a different path. If videos like this help you notice patterns in your own mind, subscribing is a small act of commitment and consistency. In psychology, once you make a small commitment, you're more likely to stay aligned with it, and that's exactly what Mind Vault is here to support as you continue exploring how your mind really works. So the next time you catch yourself repeating a bad habit, don't ask, why am I so weak? Ask a better question: what is my brain learning from this moment? Because your brain doesn't love bad habits, it loves the paths you repeat, and the path you choose to repeat today is quietly becoming the person you'll be tomorrow.